Hello there folks, this is Ferengi on board here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics about logics, understanding, deeper understanding, spirituality, dream interpretation, introspection, and other such ideas that people might find confusing or somewhat difficult to provide themselves answers with. And today I'm gonna discuss about the topic of stray animals. Okay, some of my videos I prefer making in such a way that they just challenge the mind of a person instead of just providing flat answers that people might actually take into account for granted. Okay, so the point about this is that there is this point that many people say they have difficulty. Okay, they have struggles when it comes to seeing stray animals, and also they struggle when they see not only stray animals but also the idea of stray children. Now just if you'd excuse me for 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Alright, I really had to do something urgent. Okay, so speaking about stray animals and stray children, there is a great problem that people present it as, and namely they feel very emotional towards these beings. Okay, and the question that would arise is, why do they actually feel so, and what is this so-called mercy that they have towards such beings, and is this mercy even justified? Okay, some people might actually overreact to this, and my videos are not recommended to people who react to things or overreact especially. So the point about stray animals is, one thing people don't understand, that stray animals are still wild to a certain extent. So whatever the situation may be, they will still be more adaptable to the situation and the world as is compared to you. Okay, we have created this concrete giant jungle, okay, that we live, called cities and towns and megalopolis or megalopoli. I don't know what the correct plural would be, but ironically we still don't know how to survive in here, while animals simply feel like in a different kind of forest. For example, stray dogs will always learn how to play you emotionally because their perception of this world is more advanced when it comes to exploiting different things. The dog, as a spirit animal, can also be a representative of the teacher, the exploiter, the one who teaches you how to not become emotionally attached. Because the dog, at a simple glance at you, at a simple sniff, not necessarily near to you, but if they can feel your chemistry, okay, if they can smell your chemistry, they can easily understand how they can exploit you. Ever wondered why dogs come to you and make those big puppy eyes when you have something to eat? It's because they see you as a sucker. Sure, you're probably not gonna believe me because you're stuck to an identity that dogs are innocent beings, and every other animal is innocent except humans. Well, you're up for a lot of suffering if you're into this, but well, so long as people run away from their authenticity and the truth of how this world is, well, suffering is bound to happen. Now, the point about stray animals and dogs, for example, is that they will always learn to use whatever available, because dogs and cats and any other animal, any wild animal, will keep fighting to the end. Unlike us humans, who simply prefer giving up in most situations, and many people just break down and start crying, and they want a different life, they start wandering on like all sorts of illusions and ideas, and they're all into these topics like what's it to live life in any other way, shape or form. Okay, they're just running away from themselves. So the point is, this won't ever do. with any other life form, from the smallest of bacteria to the smallest of insects to the highest of animals, you will never see any one of those simply give up. Okay, they usually give up after a fight, and that is when they realize that there is fate to trust, and whatever comes, they just prepare themselves for that, but they still pull up a fight. Now, when it comes to stray animals, the spiritual meaning of seeing stray animals is seeing nothing else than projections of yourself. Now, I am against the idea that all is one and one is all. That is a very beautiful illusion to believe, and, well, kind of, again, another representation of narcissism, which this human race seems to be deeply connected to. It is kind of very dumb to consider yourself as an everything being part of yourself. You are part of everything. Not everything is part of yourself. And, well, to a certain extent, they are one and the same thing. You are just a part of creation. Creation is not one and the same thing with you. You are just a minute part of creation. Calling yourself one with every other living being in this world is as stupid as someone can actually be, but unfortunately so many people just cling to this option as if it is the one and only truth. Now, each and every one person, based on their perception, came in this world to experience their own truths. And to a certain extent, they will understand certain truths, but they simply forget that the truth is not something that you perceive with your mind. Up till the level of the mental, okay, then up till there you can perceive things through your mind. What lies beyond your mind, like any other concepts which is more vague, like for example the truth and liberty and things like that, those things cannot be perceived with the mind, because the mind seeks to give meaning, and the point of meaning is nothing else than a self-destruction. When you give meaning to something, you turn it from the vast array of possibilities that can be, you're turning it into one single thing. Because instead of accepting, for example, the tree for the whole that they are, you're just calling it a tree, and that's just some flat meaning that you give, and you're only gonna perceive that as a tree instead of the whole entity that is, with the totality of beings that lie within, like all the cells that do their work so that that entity that you call a tree actually does its work. And also add to this actually the entirety of the processes that occur, because an entity is made up of all the sub-entities, which are entities themselves as well. All the cells in your body, okay, they are also entities, and they are connected in between themselves, and they are doing their work as best as they can, so that the experience of life you are having through the prism of your body, and hopefully not through the prison of your body, well, it's gonna be as best as possible, as good as possible, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that is the point. You have to be more appreciative to such things, because your body is doing so many things to make sure that it's working correctly, so that you in turn actually experience this world as well as it can be experienced. Okay, but the moment you give meaning to things, you are actually doing nothing else than lowering your vibration, and lowering your vibration prevents you from understanding things beyond your mental. Okay, the mind is as far as the third chakra can go, and usually the mind is all about control. The only reason you need a mind is because you need control in your life, and the only reason you need control in your life is because you don't have it. Okay, and when you don't have control in your life, you start creating all sorts of conflicts. And when you have all sorts of conflicts, you will have all sorts of sides that you create, and all sorts of stories that you create, and all these stories are going to materialize one way or another into different personalities of yours, into different masks of yours, and these things will actually be banished sooner or later, as well as your authenticity, because anytime you create different masks and personalities, your awareness is going to be reduced to that, and furthermore your originality, your authenticity also suffers at the same time. Now, to move even further from here, the very simple point is that all these parts are just gonna end up as wounding yourself, and all those wounds that you are gonna keep ignoring, just like any country that fights a war and never cares for any let's say collateral damage. Okay, you have collateral damaged parts as well, and these parts are gonna stay within you, and they are gonna remain wounded until you actually learn to make peace with those things that wounded them, okay? And after that, you're actually starting to feel whole and complete again as you go and heal the parts within you that have been wounded by other people and especially by yourself. When you start seeing stray animals, okay, it's nothing else than a representation of the abandoned parts that you're running away from instead of healing. Now, should you actually take the animals and take care of them? Well, my answer will surprisingly be no, because those animals are part of life and experiencing of life. Now, probably something surprising is that people usually take pets not because they would love those pets. Most people don't even know what love means, except that concept which appears in so-called love stories, okay? Love is something that means accepting things unconditionally and offering things unconditionally, but look around yourself and tell yourself, okay, let me find one person that gives things without expecting something in return, okay? Because that's what real love means, okay? And that's what you see from animals as well. Animals, if they give you something, they give because they don't necessarily wait for something in return, okay? Sure, many animals will also expect something in return because they also have different levels of manifestation as well. You will see dumb dogs, you will see wiser dogs, okay? You will see dumb cats, you will see wiser cats. They also have their own levels of awareness, okay? And their own level of intelligence, okay? Because life is a perpetual development, okay, on this planet, and it doesn't mean that if you are going to live the life of a dog, it's necessarily gonna be the best, okay? The more lives of dogs you live, the more you actually get to experience about those. Adopting animals is a nice thing to do, but the problem is that in most situations it's gonna be a big no-no, at least from someone like me who's thinking overly logically as well, okay? So the reason why I would say no to adopting animals is because most people don't have the natural conditions for those animals to develop normally. Especially with dogs. Canines are the most robust animals, so you have to understand that in order to adopt a dog, you actually need to either walk it or you either need to give it a very big space to run, because canines are made in such a way that they need to walk even 30 to 40 kilometers a day when they forage for food, and just they do that also for leisure because that's at least the amount they can actually walk per day. And in some cases canines can actually walk even 50 to 60 kilometers just to find food, and they do that for leisure because, well, first of all it's needed, but secondarily because they have the natural stamina to do that, okay? So in terms of dogs and cats and literally any animal, you need to create them the greatest habitat possible, because what you're doing them when you're taking care of them is you're actually stealing their liberty, is stealing their freedom, okay? They have to be let to roam the streets, and whatever happens to them, you just have to let it be, because that's how things are. The reason why you want animals is because people are attached to you and they wouldn't let go, and you are taking that as normal and you're attaching yourself onto pets, and you have expectations from them. You want them to perform certain things that you want to do, and you want to do so many things to them. You want to basically control them, because you cannot give pets to people who have no control of their life, because they will seek control over anyone else, or they will seek to be controlled as a form of what I call reverse control, because when someone wants to be controlled, they are actually the one in control, because they are actually telling you how to control them, but you're just a slave executing the commands. Funny as always, the truth will always be taught in reverse, because the truth can only be experienced. So when you see stray children and stray dogs, always wonder yourself about this. Always ask yourself, why shouldn't I feel bad about stray people? Because there is such a concept called stray people. Most likely you won't be meeting it, because everything will point to you in life that humans are bad and you have to hate your own kin, because that's how we humans have always been taught and ruled as well. Because the moment you see everyone else as an enemy, just like school teaches you, you are easily gonna be controlled, because you're not gonna trust anyone. not trusting anyone, you're not gonna build relationships. And when you have no relationships, you're easy to control because you have no scope, you have no life, you have literally nothing. So when someone wants to give you something, you're easy as fuck to control. That's how things are. There is a thing called stray people, and these stray people are not necessarily the stray children that you find. Even people who just wander around considering that they are living their lives, those are still stray people. They are people who are lost from life because they have literally no awareness. Whatever they are doing is just 100% subconscious mind. They don't have any life of their own, they just do things the way their parents would do, the way school taught them, or still teaches them, the way their boss tells them. It's literally whatever input they have, they execute it. So the only way they live life is just like a machine. They just expect commands, and when those commands come, they're just gonna do nothing else than, like simply and dumbly executing them because, well, why not? Right? So why not wonder also about stray people? There are all such things, okay, around that are simply lost, okay? What is a stray person or a stray, well, what are stray people? Stray people are simply people who are lost from their so-called master, okay? But why do you think animals actually need a master? They don't need a master because they have natural instincts that allow them to survive everywhere. The only reason why they would seek a master is the only reason why you would seek a guru, for example. So a guru is someone who can actually teach you how to do things much faster, but they're not going to impose that on you unless they are a fake guru. But a true guru is someone who has beaten certain tracks that almost or very few people actually have, and when you have spiritual necessities, you can actually go to one because they will be the one to ferry you through the difficulties because they know the way, okay? And in terms of guru, they don't necessarily have to be educated, because a guru is some person that has a very advanced, or well, a certain level at least of awareness. They need to have an advanced, or well, at least mediocre to advanced awareness, because that's what it means to be a guru. If you learn how everything works within you, you can simply project that and see that everything else functions in a similar way. If you function in a similar way, you will see that whatever you go through, you can easily adjust it to any other person. So you see, there are such people that realized school is not necessarily important. You can bypass that, and with a certain level of awareness, which takes a long time to practice, okay, you can understand things in a better way. And animals need a master because they know that in the end they are the master, okay? When you have a stray dog or a cat, or when you have a pet, you're basically the slave because you're doing nothing else than pleasing the master, okay? And this shows that you're nothing else than a people pleaser, and you're nothing else than a person who does not love themselves. You're just living in a codependency relationship in which the animal requires someone to feed them much faster instead of just foraging for food, and in many cases unsuccessfully, and also having a shelter, because dogs and cats and pets are capable of understanding that. Of course, it is our narcissism that says, yes, we are these perfect beings that understand everything, and animals are dumb and don't understand anything. It's called instant gratification. When you can get something for free and fast, why would you actually bother doing the hard work? It's not about hard work, it's about doing the smart work. That's what animals are doing, and that's what animals have been equipped with. While we humans still consider ourselves the smartest beings on the world, but we are the only beings that need to pay for our life. Ever wondered about that? And more so than that, the point is, if you don't love yourself, you are not gonna love anyone else. Just quit lying yourself that I don't love myself, my life is shit, but at least my dog's life is better. No, their life won't be better because they will be inflicted with your pains, they will be inflicted with your misconceptions about life and your sufferings, and that's gonna have a great impact on dogs specifically, because dogs replicate the specifications of their so-called master quite fast. And stray people are any person you see around that have simply lost or never found their authenticity. They're just wandering around seeking nothing, hurrying towards nowhere, and this is what I call stray people. Should you worry about these? Well, the question about life is, should you actually worry about anything else about other than yourself? Do you actually know yourself good enough? Because if you don't know yourself good enough, you cannot perceive life that well, and if you cannot perceive life that well, your mind will take control. And if your mind takes control, then you're only gonna perceive this life through the prism of the idea of control, or in this case more likely the prison of control. Okay, you will want things to be done your way, you will want things to be just as you say, because you have most likely, in the lack of love, you will most likely build a fake persona, okay, an identity, and you will get so attached to it that you can simply not let go, and you will refuse to let go of it, and that's how most people are. And well, eventually you'll do nothing else than just stupidly suffer, but well, okay, what can I say? Everything to each their own. So learn to understand everything that you see around. These stray animals are nothing but teachers in your life. They are reminding you that you have certain things in your life that you are running away from. That is one reason why you are seeing stray animals, okay? And stray people and stray children, and like sleepwalking zombies or stray people, whatever you want to call them, okay? These people who are stuck in the matrix, let's say, or the NPCs of the game of life, whatever you want to call them, these people remind you that you have things that you're running away from. And until you start checking some of those and solving some of those, you will not reach a level in which solving each and every other such thing becomes natural. And once you solve at least a bunch of those, you won't reach a level in which you suddenly feel a need for a greater change, which means getting away from the area that you live and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because that is something very possible, but you are the only one who disallow yourself from that. Think about the fact that stray animals, the way you see them, it's just your mind that plays tricks on you that those beings are actually suffering. Of course they might be suffering, but at least they are free. You are not free. You're staying in a house most likely with your parents who impose control and play you emotionally one way or another. You're going to a job to survive, and that's definitely a place where you're not enjoying any sort of freedom. So think about you as a person, how free you are. Society promises you freedoms, but you're never ever gonna see any one of those. At work you're promised a lot of freedoms, but you're never ever gonna see any one of those. And at home you're promised a lot of freedoms, but you're most likely living in codependency. So as long as you live in that, there is no freedom in your life, because you're living in the prison of your mind. Until you learn how to become introspective and how to bypass that, you're not gonna enjoy any freedom. Well, you're probably gonna disregard this part of my video, but well, to each their own. And just remember, as long as you run away from your awareness and from your authenticity, suffering is bound to happen. And it's not me that I say this, it's how the universe works. You don't believe me? Just take a look around and see whoever around you is actually really happy. Just because someone smiles, it doesn't mean that they are authentically happy. Now hopefully you like this type of content that I'm creating. Feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to follow me if you feel so. Just as usual, become more introspective, learn more about yourself, and understand that life is all about experiencing and learning, and everything else is nothing but meaning that we create. Okay? So all these being said, just as usual, take care of yourself and your others. You are loved and appreciated. Ferenc Board signing out.